How is it going, everyone? It's Sam. We just had some news that is blowing people's minds. And I want to cover that. I want to talk about a top SEC lawyer that just quit to go to a pro crypto firm saying crypto's here to stay. I want to show you what's happening over at the ECB and what they're saying. There's a lot going on. If you don't mind, hit subscribe. Turn on the bell notification underneath the video so you can see future videos just like this. I want to start with this too. I saw something recently about a YouTuber and it was just over the last few hours that came out. Someone calling them a scammer, that they're pumping and dumping. This is not probably the person that you're thinking about, because again, this is more recent than someone that got called out like a few days ago. Just be careful. I think there are a lot of really good people in the space right now, but there's just like a lot of infighting, which is just kind of nuts. So just be careful. Like, even if something comes out about someone, they're not necessarily a bad person. It might be miscommunication or something. So just be careful. Emotions run high at times like this. But if you don't mind, hit subscribe, turn on the bell notification underneath the video. There's also a link down there to Marx in case you want to trade cryptocurrency. There's no KYC. You don't need a VPN to access this. Anyone is welcome. And they do have a deposit bonus. There's also something called an MP Shield system that they have there, where it helps you from being unfairly liquidated due to price manipulation. I know a lot of people see that. Part of that comes down to your trading and making sure that you trade in a way that's actually safe, but part of it is this kind of liquidation thing that happens over and over to people. So they do try to prevent price manipulation. If you want to check that out, there is a link underneath the video. Also a link down there to Blowfin, to another crypto exchange in case you want to trade on a different one besides Marx. Now, Nvidia. We have to start with Nvidia. And I realize that this channel is about cryptocurrency for the most part. We're going to get to crypto here in a second. We're going to get to Bitcoin. We're going to get to Ethereum, some other stuff. But everyone and their brother and their sister and their cousin and their aunt and their uncle and their old teacher from middle school was watching Nvidia yesterday. Nvidia is up 15% here today. This is after being up 4x over the last year. Just to give you some context, in April 2023, so not even a full year ago, they reported earnings of $1.09, and this blew out expectations. Now they're reporting earnings 5x that amount. Like, this is absolutely nuts how quickly they've grown. They're now a $1.93 billion company. I think they're third in the US behind Microsoft and Apple, fourth in the world. They are exploding. Now, everyone was watching this because they are the darling of the stock market, and even them, even after these really high expectations, they still beat estimates by 11% on EPS, 8% on revenue. They're holding up the stock market, and we're seeing a really green day in the stock market today. Now, crypto, not so green. You can see we're just kind of fluctuating between 51,000 and 53,000. I show it this far out because when you look back, like, we've moved up a lot. I actually just added to a long as well today. I added to a long because we've been stuck in this range and we have pretty strong support. It seems like around 50,000 and a little bit above 50,000. We also have the support that looks like right around 47,000, 48,000. I added to a lower leverage long because with the place that we're at in the market, I think there's more of a chance of upside. And even if we move down, right, we could see a significant correction, but I would not be surprised if we just saw something that we've seen in the past, which is basically like what happened back here. We went up significantly, went down, and we just went down to the level of prior resistance, like right around 38,000. We kept on hitting resistance around 37, 38,000 during this run up. We went up, then we tested back down here, and then we moved back up to the upside. So maybe we do something similar. Maybe we move down to 50,000 or 48,000, something like that, and then continue right back up. I would not be surprised if that's what happens. And there was a bit of a flip for Bitcoin yesterday. You can see we went from inflows from January 26th all the way through 2 days ago. We had inflows going into Bitcoin ETFs. Yesterday, we saw a bit of an outflow. Now, some people will take this as this is the end, right? This is just the initial pump. Now we're the big institutions are fully allocated towards Bitcoin. That's not the case. We've seen it before where we had outflows, and then it went into a massive spike of inflows. We went from 20,000 Bitcoin by the new ETFs to 100,000. This happened very quickly. We can see that same thing happen again. Even if we see some days of outflows, there could be various reasons for that. We know Genesis is selling a lot. We know that there's a time period before a lot of financial institutions can start buying Bitcoin ETFs. There could be a variety of different reasons for this, but when you look at BlackRock and Fidelity, they're barely allocated to Bitcoin. Barely. They barely started buying. And this is not all the inflows. So keep in mind, when we see days like this where there are net outflows, that's actually typically a good time to dollar cost average, because there's only going to be so much time before the price spikes up again. We may never, ever hit this level again. And I thought about that recently, and I talked about that, where if we go up 3x from the prior all-time high, we go from 69,000 up to 210,000. If we see a 75% drawdown, we're back at 50K. Maybe a little bit above or below 50K, but we've seen some significant support in this region. We've seen some significant resistance. Maybe next bear market, we just touch down to 50K and we kind of puddle around there. That's the price that we're at right now. So there could be a situation where the worst price you ever get a buy at, again, is the price you can buy at right now. And then, yeah, you can take profits in the market. Let's say we go up to 100,000, 200,000. You can take profits up there. If you don't take profits, still, like worst case scenario, maybe we just stay around this level 2 years from now in the bear market, or 3 years from now in the bear market, which is a pretty bullish situation if you're looking at allocating to something. And the worst case scenario is it falls back down a couple years later to the same price you're buying at today. We did get some news too, and we'll come back to Bitcoin here in a second, but we got some news. Top SEC lawyer leaves pro crypto firm. So it just came out. A key member of the Security and Exchange Commission legal team, Landon Stewart, stepped down from her role at the agency to join a pro crypto law firm. So let's just cover what she said. She said in a statement to Bloomberg, "Crypto is here to stay. That's becoming very clear with the launch of the new slew of Bitcoin ETFs. Given the complexity and the turbulent enforcement arena, legal questions surrounding crypto are going to be at the forefront for some time." So crypto's here to stay. She leaves the SEC, and she was someone that was fighting against Ripple, Coinbase. She's worked for Microsoft, GoldenTree Asset Management, and AbbVie before. And she's actually going over to White and Castle, which advised Fidelity as it created its Bitcoin spot ETF. Now, this is, I think, bullish. This is something where we probably won't ever talk about it again on the channel. But when we see people going from the SEC to other companies, there could be all kinds of reasons for that. Maybe she just wanted to get out of this sector and she wanted to go into the private sector. Maybe she makes 10 times more. I don't know. But she goes to a company that has advised Celsius during their bankruptcy proceedings, right? So they tried to help there. They've advised Fidelity. Getting good people with significant experience in the legal sector over to pro crypto firms is bullish. It is bullish because it helps mold what will happen from here on out. Now we'll get into what happened at the ECB. They're trying to call out Bitcoin. They have some egg on their face now. But I just want to mention, if you haven't already looked at HG Algo, I would highly suggest it. We have created something here that you can plug into your TradingView that gives you the times where it's probably good to dollar cost average in and out of the market. And you can set for different time frames depending on what you're looking for. But I just pulled up a chart of Myro, a favorite meme coin of a lot of people out there. And it nailed the bottom here on the DCA function. So it said DCA here at 0.045 or something like that. Then again here at 0.052. And it has like really good times to dollar cost average out. Let's say you bought here, sold here. You have made a nice 60% gain. Bought here, sold here. Nice little 40% gain. It says dollar cost average out, dollar cost average out. And then, yeah, dollar cost average back in. And yeah. So it obviously depends on the time frame you're looking at, but it can be really helpful to take some of the psychology out of dollar cost averaging. And you can always go to a much larger time frame as well, which can help with this. This is more short-term trading, but it can be really helpful on big dips and pumps. So you can check this out underneath the video. Now, ECB just talked about Bitcoin. This tells you how scared they are. The ECB is going out of their way. The European Central Bank is going out of their way to talk about Bitcoin. Imagine if the Fed start talking about Bitcoin or something like that. Like, and tried to FUD it out there. They say Bitcoin has failed to become a global decentralized digital currency, instead falling victim to fraud and manipulation. The recent approval of the ETFs doesn't change the fact that Bitcoin is costly, slow, and inconvenient, argues the ECB blog. So they just had someone talk about Bitcoin, and then they feel the need to publish it to everyone. Not taking like a very broad, like, hey, there's some benefits, there's some pros and there's some cons. No, they're just fudding it. And as you can see here, they got community noted. One Bitcoin is not preferable for criminals. Fiat, like euros and dollars, is. And then they go through the different websites that talk about that. 2, Bitcoin is an open monetary protocol and a decentralized store of value. The euro is losing the purchasing power against Bitcoin consistently. Take a look at this. This isn't even like handpicked for the last 10 years. This is just like the last 5, 6 years, 7 years. You can see how much it's gone down, how much the euro has gone down versus Bitcoin. It's just insane. Like, Bitcoin has just appreciated very well. Bitcoin is good for the environment. They go through it here. So a lot of the FUD, a lot of the common things that people talk about aren't true. And something I heard yesterday, this is really interesting. I had heard this for the first time. You know, people make this case that criminals use Bitcoin. Criminals trust Bitcoin and they don't trust dollars, right? That's like a big thing that people are worried about. Oh no, criminals like something. Oh, wow. We should not put our money there. I heard someone talking about that. Like, okay, criminals don't trust anything, but they trust Bitcoin. And that got me thinking, like, a lot of the time we just hear something and automatically, like, based on how people are presenting it, we think that something's good or bad. But that is an interesting thing to think about. Like, criminals don't trust anyone. They're very cautious, at least good criminals, I guess. But yet they trust Bitcoin. And that's just assuming that people are actually right. If the FUD is right, that criminals like Bitcoin, which I don't think they really do. Most people use cash, and it's easier to track Bitcoin than it is cash. The one thing that Bitcoin has is it can be sent faster. Like, that's the one thing, and you can send bigger amounts. But let's say that premise is even right. That might even strengthen the case for Bitcoin, right? So it is kind of interesting to think about that. I think this is an important chart too. Bitcoin has passed all-time highs in 14 different countries. There's going to be a time where every country has their own currency has gone down against Bitcoin, where Bitcoin's at all new highs in 200 plus countries. I'm waiting for that graphic. That's going to be awesome. And I think it's going to happen faster than some people think. Some other news, Vitalik remains wary of overly complex layer 2s. Basically talking about how there's some trade-offs and complexity between Ethereum's layer 1 and layer 2 architecture. He said his views have evolved over time, warning against excessive complexity at the layer 2 level. This is heading into the Dankun upgrade. This is something that I've thought about as well. It's hard to understand how all of the layer 2s have pros and cons with Bitcoin, like how that affects Ethereum's price. How does it affect Ethereum's price to have all these layer 2s that are being used? The person that posted this, Joe Burnett, says ETH will trend to 0.00 Bitcoin. Even if people are still using ETH 10 years from now, there's no reason the token will be much more valuable. That's what he says. Now, I do hold some Ethereum, but I do think Bitcoin's a much better... let me rephrase that. Bitcoin is less risky than Ethereum at this point. Ethereum might have more upside short term, but Bitcoin, and maybe even long term, but Bitcoin is safer, significantly safer in my opinion. Now, let me know your thoughts on this. And again, I'm not trying to tell you to sell your Ethereum. I'm not selling my Ethereum right now. But long term, I think Bitcoin is much safer. Ethereum does have the Dankun upgrade, which can be super bullish. They also have the possibility of an Ethereum ETF. So I'm not trying to FUD anything. Ethereum very well could run much harder than Bitcoin during the next bull run. But I did have an interesting conversation with someone yesterday that said something very similar, that if he had $500, he'd much rather put it into Bitcoin than Ethereum. If you want to see that conversation, I'll put it up on the end screen. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Check out the links to Marx and to HG Algo underneath the video. I'll see you soon. Bye.